What's going on, horror fans? It's Foos here. Today, we are going to talk about A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child. This is not going to be a fun one, y'all. This movie would be released in August of 1989, written by Leslie Boehm and directed by Stephen Hopkins, and would just be a disaster class of a production across the board, with so many things being done on the fly throughout this film, and it certainly showed in the final product. The audience of the time wasn't buying what New Line Cinema was trying to sell here either, as this movie did not have a lot of box office success, making only about $22 million, and was critically panned across the board. Massive drop off compared to the success of The Dream Master and Dream Warriors. We would see returning performances in this one from Robert Englund, however, who would reprise the role of Freddy Krueger. We would also see Lisa Wilcox back in this one as Alice. And this movie would center around Alice again, who's with Dan in this film, who's our other survivor from the Dream Master. And the two of them end up getting, where Alice, I should say, gets pregnant with their baby. And this gives Freddy his new avenue to come back through the dreams of this unborn child. So it would once again be up to Alice and her new group of friends in this one to find a way to defeat Freddy. And this movie sucks, y'all. I'm just putting it out there now. I struggled to find some positives on this one and was able to kind of think of a few things that I can point out if I have to try to think of something positive here. First thing being is the performance of Lisa Wilcox. Was a big Alice fan in 4, and I feel like she does a good job again with what she's given here, as best as she can do. So Lisa Wilcox's performance again as Alice is another positive of this movie. And then as far as any other positives go, I'm trying hard here to scrape for some. But early on in the movie, we get some early dream sequences that kind of flash us back to, like, the origins of Freddy, so to speak, with some of what went on there. There is some cool imagery in a couple of those first two like flashback sequences, about all the way up to the point where we get, let's call it, baby Freddy is born here and he comes back, so to speak. Like, up till there, those first couple dream sequences do have kind of a, pretty cool vibe to them, I guess, for what it's trying to do there. So I'd give that a positive. But once baby Freddy comes running out and crawling around the room there, and all of that starts to go into play, it loses me pretty quick there. As far as any other positives go, I think the only other thing I can really think to point out on this one that I found to be kind of enjoyable was I guess, the character arc, so to speak, of Alice's dad. We see this guy in the fourth movie. He's an absolute piece of shit. I mean, he's got a drinking problem. He's clearly not very nice to Alice at all. He's giving her shit all the time. Like, he's a really big piece of shit father, it seems like. And, he's lost his wife and all that, blah, 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 blah. So he's got a lot going on, I'm sure, but he's not a likable character in 4. When we get to 5, and it kind of seems like more of the same early on, where he's kind of MIA, at the ceremony and all of that. But then he shows up. Obviously, he's just kind of hanging out in the background. But throughout this movie, he is really supportive of Alice, and I think is clearly, turned some type of a corner. So Alice's father's character, I would say, is a positive in this movie. The way he's kind of evolved into being somebody you can enjoy a little bit more. But that's about all I can scrape for on negative, or on positives, I should say, with this movie. It is all negatives from here. And I don't even know where to start. As I said earlier, this is not a good movie. This is, I don't know that I can call it the worst in the franchise, but it's damn sure competing for it. I know a lot of people praise the creative direction that this one attempted to go with, the incorporating the unborn child element to it, and babies dream a lot when they're in utero and all that, so it opens this whole new, like, level to Freddy, so to speak. And it just not hit for me. I get what they were going for. I get it. I can appreciate the idea of what they tried to do here, I guess, but it just doesn't work for me. It's silly, and some of the moments that we get, in relation to it, like when they're doing the sonogram scene, and you see Freddy inside of her belly, and he starts feeding souls to the fetus in utero, and the whole souls from a boy line. It's just like, it just does not hit in any way that's fucking serious at all. And I just can't get into it. The whole premise is silly to me, and the way that they executed it, maybe that's where it really boils down to. Maybe if they'd attempted to go at this type of a concept with a little bit more of a serious demeanor and not all this fucking hokey tongue-in-cheek silly shit, maybe I could have got on board. But the way that it's presented, no, It's not working for me at all.
It's a no for me, though.
Another negative about this one, and it's a fucking big one, is the characters in this movie are awful. Outside of Alice, who I talked about earlier as being a positive, and Dan's not bad. Dan's good in here, but we don't get him for very long before he's killed in this movie. And we're mainly left with Alice and her two best friends. Because even her one friend, Greta, she's insufferable in her own right too, but we don't get to deal with her for nearly as long as we get the other two. So I'm really focusing mostly here on Mark and, gosh, what is the girl's name? I can't, Yvonne, I think is her name. Um, they are by far one of the worst parts of this movie. And I know some people seem to like Yvonne, for what she offers in this movie, but it just doesn't work for me. And the performance is so, I don't know if she's just overdone in certain aspects, but all the dialogue that she has, and when she's kind of going through this phase in the movie, like the worst part for me, she's kind of the one that doesn't really want to believe the whole thing that's going on, like all the way up to the last possible second. She's like denying and questioning everything that's going on. And she just comes off like such a bitch. Really don't enjoy her, but she is gold compared to Mark. This guy is awful, 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 awful. Every fucking line this guy delivers in this movie seems like it gets worse than the last. And I know some people seem to like it, but his death scene is fucking atrocious. The whole comic book scene where, he gets sucked into the comic book and we get Super Freddy out of this, but we also get the ridiculous moment where Mark turns into this like comic book character. It's so fucking stupid. I'm sorry if y'all like it. I don't mean, like what you like. Don't let my opinion change that, obviously, but fuck, this is stupid, and I cannot stand this movie. Those characters are really tough for me. And that scene right there, that death scene, I know when I did talk about four, I mentioned Rick's death scene, the whole karate dream sequence thing being one of the worst that this franchise had offered us to this point. While more ambitious and they go for trying to show you a lot more, and there's a lot more being done in this one, this fucking comic book scene might be worse. I just really don't like it. Freddy on a skateboard and all that, it's just so far in the silly, campy direction that it lost me completely. But as far as death scenes go, though, talking about there are really no death scenes in this movie that I enjoy. We get, Rick, or not Rick, Dan earlier in the movie who dies on this motorcycle situation where the motorcycle kind of like transforms him into this like, Ghost Rider type thing almost. That one is probably the most ambitious, but still it just doesn't hit for me. And there really are none in this movie that I like. The Greta death scene that we get early on, where she's basically being force fed to death, is fucking terrible. There's just no good ones in this movie. Sucks to say it, but it is what it is. And even the entire third act of this movie will be the next thing I'm going to point out here. Is like we go completely off the rails on the back end of this movie. I mean, there's a point where Alice is turning into Freddy, and Freddy's unborn baby, as a child becomes a big part of this, which it was kind of funny seeing that kid in this movie because if you ever watched Full House growing up, all I could think when I was watching this movie is about duck lips. If you know, you know. But the back end of this movie is a fucking mess. And this might be the worst demise of Freddy I think that we get. It's awful, you know. And I'm not even going to go into beating all the details of it to death. I'm just going to sum up as negative as saying the ending of this movie, for as bad as the whole movie is, the ending especially fucking sucked. And this one hurts me to say, but the final negative I'll point out about this one is I can't even say that I enjoy Robert Englund in this movie. This is like the Freddy that I don't really want to see. And everybody has their flavor that they like and all of that. And I don't dislike, Freddy having one-liners and having some, comedic campy element to him to an extent. But I want there to be a line in the sand on that shit. At the end of the day, I prefer the more sinister Freddy, something that's going to be a little more intimidating, other than just trying to fucking make you laugh the whole damn movie. Yeah, this not a good Freddy performance for me, and unfortunately, it just looks like shit too. I mean, this is one of the worst looking Freddys that I think a franchise has offered us as well. Oh man, a lot of negatives across the board, unfortunately, on this one. And overall, some final thoughts on it here. If I'm being completely honest with y'all, I don't see any rewatch value in this movie, and it's one of those ones that I can't even have a lot of like just fun with it for what it is. I don't know. I guess I have different expectations in different circumstances because there's certainly campy, silly horror movies that I can have a lot of fun with. So I'm not saying that that's not possible for me. But when it comes to A Nightmare on Elm Street, I just fall more in the camp of wanting Freddy to be scarier, and so that's why I kind of lean more to certain sequels other than others. Um, but this one, it's a rough one, and not one that I'm going to be likely to throw back on my own. And if I'm rating it, this is a 1 out of 5 easily for me, and it's just not a good movie. That's all I can really say. I'm not recommending it to anybody, but hey, it's your world. You go watch it, make your own opinion on it. If you're a fan of this movie, by all means, enjoy it, but I do not. But hey, if you stuck with me for this long, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share the video with some friends, share the channel with some friends. Anything you can do to help out, we greatly appreciate over here. But in the meantime, we'll see y'all on the next one.